took a chance and sold up and gave away everything that I owned to experience some much needed adventure in my life. So come along and experience it with me every step of the way on my journey around the waterways of the UK and through life on the Narrowboat Cruising and Lifestyle Channel. Morning YouTubers. Today's little adventure, we're going to go from Cowroast on the Grand Union down the beautiful, surprisingly beautiful Wendover arm right to the end, and all the adventures that entails. Just leaving the mooring at Cowroast. You are out in the middle of nowhere here, but there's two things that spoil your peace. You've got a railway line 100 yards to the right, and 100 yards to the left you've got a busy road, so it's not as peaceful as it looks. Still been lovely though. You may have noticed that I've got some bags of coal on the roof and I've put the chimney up. We're well into autumn now, so I've had to fire the stove up a few times. Boat over there on the right, looks like they've got their stove going. It's lovely and cosy when you've got the old stove going on one of these narrowboats. We've got a few miles journey down the Grand Union before we turn left onto the Wendover arm. I reckon if these two had a narrowboat, they wouldn't need an engine. I've pulled right over here on the right to give this wide beam some room. But he's not took up the room that I've given him, and he's scraping all his paintwork down the trees by the looks of it. But there you go. I've got a little treat today. I've got a whole day without doing any locks. So I can just relax and take in all this loveliness. This bit coming up is called Tring Cutting. You can see the rocks on the side of the bank there where they've cut into the hill. I'm trying to show you the cutting. I don't think you're going to get the perspective from these pictures. Just think of the back-breaking work that went into digging out this cutting. Because back in the day when this was cut out, all they had was picks, shovels and wheelbarrows. They must have been hard men in them days. If you look at this bridge, I'd imagine that that's the amount of earth and rocks that they've had to cut out all the way along. It's an amazing achievement if you actually think about it. There's a couple of blokes on the grey boat on the left coming up that said they've been watching out for Aitch coming by. So obviously they must watch the channel. So thank you if you're watching. If you look up in front, you can see a boat coming towards me that's just come through the bridge hole. Keep your eye on it. Just started to steer out right into me. I'm having to put Aitch in reverse to stop him. How weird's that? It's a good job I was just plodding along slow as I usually do, or I wouldn't have been able to stop. Head-on collision avoided. And I think the less said about it, the better. We're just coming up to the village of Bulbourne. And if you look up there to the left of the bridge, there's a nice old pub called the Bulbourne Junction. Looks like they're doing a bit of work here. Lovely beer garden. And on the other side, I think you've got what used to be called Bulbourne workshops that used to do all the lock gates. Is the Wendover arm up here somewhere? Yeah. How far? About 100 yards? I heard someone over here on the left taking the mickey out of my blue shorts. And it turned out to be Dave from the Narrowboat channel, Firbob The Narrowboat. We're just going past Firbob now on the left. And here's Dave filming me while I'm filming him. See you later.
Yeah, see you later. Look at yourself.
Well, I'm on my own. I don't usually get shots of Aitch moving like this. I'll leave a link to Dave's channel, Firbob The Narrowboat, in the comments below. If you look up there to the left, you can see the entrance to the Wendover arm. And it's quite a tight and narrow turn into it. These two workboats, moored two abreast, is going to make it awkward because I can't really swing out to come back in. But we'll see, we'll have a crack at it. Just past the entrance you can see the start of the locks going down from the Chiltern Hills. There's 6 locks in a row there. You've also got to be aware that there could be another boat coming out of the entrance. So fingers crossed. That went surprisingly well, even with a spider trying to put me off. This shows you where the Wendover arm turns off just before the 6 locks on the Grand Union there, and where it's navigable to. The Wendover arm was built to supply water to the main Grand Union Canal from artisan wells and springs that are coming up through the Chiltern Hills up here. It's very narrow and quite shallow as well. There's a canoe just crept out of nowhere.
I thought I could see something through the bushes. Pardon? No, it's shallow as well, isn't it? Is it? Oh, I've never been up there, so... Lovely. See you later.
You have to stick right to the middle of this canal, because at the sides it's so shallow that you bottom out. So God knows what you'd do if you had a boat coming the other way towards you. But so far we've been lucky. I'm not sure, but I think this is a flour mill that we're going past over here on the left. You've got all this lovely countryside out here, and then all this industry just pops up out of nowhere. I'm wondering if it came from an old flour mill that was here. Right, back to all the lovely countryside now again. These couple of swans have took over someone's garden. The Wendover arm was opened in 1797, but nowadays you can only go up to Little Tring and not Wendover. There's about a mile and a half of it that's navigable. I'll try and show you how clear the water is here. It's like going through an aquarium sometimes, the amount of fish that I'm seeing. I ain't seen any whoppers yet though. I'm really enjoying going up this little arm. With all its twists and turns, it's reminding me of a narrower version of the River Stalt. So if you're going down this part of the Grand Union on your narrowboat, I'd encourage you to turn off up the Wendover arm, because it's been really lovely. We can't be too far from the end now. This is a lovely looking bridge. Looks to me like it's been recently rebuilt, looking at the brickwork here. I've just started seeing a few boats moored up for the first time. And they're only 48-hour moorings up here. By reading a little bit about this place, I know there's a winding hole at the end here somewhere. This looks like it. Right, let's see if I can turn Aitch round. If I push the tiller right over to the right and then give it some revs, Aitch turns on a sixpence. Nearly there. Let's go and look for somewhere to moor up. Because the canal's quite narrow, I don't really want to moor up on this bend. I'm going to see if I can get behind this other narrowboat up here. Lovely little spot. You can see all the Chiltern Hills from up here on the bridge. It's lovely. I think I'm going to enjoy my couple of days here. This is the end of the navigation. And they're working on restoring the rest of the canal, so one day you can actually get up to Wendover. But by the looks of it, it's going to be a while yet. Thank you ever so much for coming along with me. I've really enjoyed your company, and I'll see you next time on Narrowboat Cruising and Lifestyle.